let's take a look at problem number 4 for Module 2 homework. So in this scenario, the first part of the problem is to find probability distributions for X and Y, where X is the number of window air conditioner units left at the end of the week, and then Y is the number of special stockout orders required, if any. So before we sort of panic at this question, we'll just take it one step at a time. So we know we're going to need to calculate the number of units left at the end of the week and then the number of stockout orders required. So one thing that we might as well do now is create a variable called number in stock, and this could change, right? We could decide every week to order more or less. So this is an input, and we could format this cell as an input. We'll make it maybe light blue. And right now that number in stock is 5. So for part A, we want distributions of number of leftover units, which is X, and number of special stockout orders, which is Y. Okay, so let's make a table. We have our number demanded, we have our number left over, we have our number of special orders, and then we also need to carry down the probability. So these are all the things we need to answer this question. And now we have to do some calculations. So we really only care about scenarios which are feasible, or that have an associated probability with them. So up to 8 demanded. After that, that scenario is not feasible since the probability is 0. So to calculate the number left over, we're going to use some conditions inside of our formula. So we're going to use the if formula to make these calculations easier. So in this case, we say if B15, or if the number in stock, and I want this fixed, so I'm going to hit F4, and it will fix my cell on that on this number in stock. So when I drag this formula down or over, it will not change this reference, and that will be an absolute reference. So if the number in stock is greater than or equal to the number demanded, which is right here, and this number I don't want to fix, I want it to change as I pull the formula down, then the value, if true, is going to be the number in stock, and I'm going to make that an absolute reference, minus how many are demanded. So if none are demanded and I have 5 in stock, I will have 5 left over. And then if that's not true, if there's more demand than in stock, then I'll have 0 left over, and so I don't want to go negative. Okay, so let's see if this formula works. I'm going to hover over the cell and then get my little cross and drag this formula down. Okay, this makes sense, right? Up to 4 demanded, I have 1 left in stock, and then if I demand 5, I have none left in stock, and then any more than 5, I also have none left in stock. Okay, now we need to figure out the formula for the number of special orders. So I'm going to leave this one up to you guys, but just keep in mind that to calculate special orders, we need to know whether or not the number left over is, if the number demanded is greater than the number in stock. So if the number demanded is greater than the number in stock, then our special orders will have to be the number demanded minus the number in stock. So I'm going to pause for a minute and enter that formula, and you guys can do the same. Okay, so now that we finished that, we need to carry our probabilities over, and we know the probability distribution because we have it right here for the number demanded. So we can just copy that over, and we don't need this 0. Okay, so we could stop here. However, this isn't quite clean. So let me show you what I'd like you to do now. We have the number left over and the probability. The total number of possible values for the number left over are either 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0. And if we look over here, the total number of instances where the probability is 5 is 1. So these have the same probability. When the number left over is 4, the probability is right here. For 3, for 2, for 1, now we get to the situation where 0 could happen whenever the demand is 5, 6, 7, or 8. So based on our rules for independent probability events, we know that we can that probabilities are additive. So for this, we need to take the sum of all the possible scenarios where there is 0 left over. So we'll take the sum here, and now we have a nice clean probability distribution where we don't have multiple values of 0. And if you look at this down, this total sums to 1, so that's how we can double check our work. And you can go ahead and repeat this and get the probability distribution for special orders. Keep in mind that there are 4 options for special orders: 0, 1, 2, or 3. Okay, the next question asks us to find the expected values for x and y. So we'll go ahead and do it for x, and then you can do it for y, which you'll have calculated out on your own. So let's go ahead and do that. So for part B, so number left, the expected value of the number left over, and we're going to calculate the expected value on the number of special orders. Okay, so this is a nice way to set this up, and I'm going to kind of help break up my spreadsheet here. All right, so in order to calculate the mean, if you look back in the textbook, the formula is going to be basically the sum of the probability times the number left over. So in order to calculate this, we'll use the sum product function of the probability distribution and our number left over. And that basically gives us the average for the number left over. So on average, there is 1 to 2 units left over. Obviously, we can't have a fraction of a unit left over, so you have to interpret that with a little bit of a grain of salt. Okay, so go ahead and calculate out for special orders, and then we'll move on to the next part of the question. Okay, the next part of our question says to assume that this appliance store makes a $60 profit on each air conditioner sold, but loses $20 for each unit sold as a special stockout order. Z is the profit that they earn in the coming week from the sale of window air conditioners. So first thing we're going to do is find the probability distribution of Z. So if we think about what we did in this part, we need to calculate, we need to know the number of leftover units, the number, which is because they make a profit here, the number of special orders, and then we are going to need to calculate the profit for each scenario, and then pull down our probabilities. So let's set this up for the next part. Okay, so I've gone ahead and set this up to solve, and I need to enter my new variables. So I have the profit for an on-hand unit and the loss per stockout. So for the number left over and the number of special orders, I'm just going to carry over my scenarios that are possible from this table here. Oh, I need to paste those as values. And then my probability is going to be the same. And I'm right-clicking and then pasting as values to prevent errors. The reason this didn't work before is because these formulas, it didn't like the copy paste, but that's okay. So now I need to calculate out weekly profit. So to do that, I need to take the profit I have per on-hand unit and then multiply that by the number in stock minus the number left over, because that will be how many I sold. Oops. And one thing I just realized is I need this reference to be fixed. Oop. Sorry. Put that there. And then my number in stock also needs to be fixed for this formula to be carried down. And then I'm going to subtract from that the number of special orders times the loss per stock out, and I want that reference to be fixed. And that should give me my weekly profit. So in this case, I didn't sell anything, so I should have 0. So that's comforting. And if I sold 4, then I would have if I had 4 left over, I would have sold 1 because I had 5 to start with, so I would have made $60. So it appears our formula is working. If I sold everything, I would have made $300 off of the on-hand, but then I would have had to order 3, so I would have had to subtract 60. Okay, so our formula looks great. And now I have my probability distribution Z. And then to find the expected value of Z, we're going to use the sum product again. And I will leave that up to you to calculate out the average profit.